Are you considering playing World of Warcraft and you're a little bit on the fence about it and you're not sure if now's the right time to jump in, or if now is the right time, what version to play? Well, that's the question we're really going to answer here, and we're going to look at both casual and hardcore. I myself sort of these days swing to the more casual kind of thing because I have a wife, I have a kid, and I have a full-time job. But we're going to look at the versions available and decide if they're for you. So last year Blizzard came out with WoW Classic, which is basically the original game as it came out some 15 years ago. So they are running that version along with what we call WoW Retail, which is basically the current game up to date with all the patches, etc. And we'll look at them one by one, and we'll start with WoW Retail. So Retail right now, if I'm going to jump to the end of this, if you're a new player or a returning player, I personally don't think jumping into the retail game right now would be that smart. The game as of right now is Battle for Azeroth, but there is an expansion on the horizon called Shadowlands. Now Shadowlands will be coming out probably in December, and it's going to have a pre-patch in probably something like October. I myself have not played WoW since, say, something like Cataclysm, which was an expansion many moons ago, and quite frankly I did take advantage of the boost when I bought Shadowlands by pre-order. You get a boost to 120, so I've done that with my warrior, and I've leveled my paladin from 110 to 120 because I believe when I got the game I also got that as well. Now the problem with that is I've done that in preparation for Shadowlands, but really I have no urge to keep playing, partly because I don't know my classes very well, and partly because I know things are going to change. And really that sort of knowing that there's a new expansion on the horizon takes out all the impetus for me to play. And I think that will be the case for a new player right now, especially when we consider for a new player, if you're not going to do the boost, which I sort of don't recommend doing the boost, it's just because I'm a little bit fatigued with the leveling and I've leveled in Classic as well. So if you're not going to do the boost, well, with the new expansion there's going to be a pre-patch which is coming out in October approximately, and in that expansion it's going to basically revamp the leveling experience. There will be a new player experience from 1 to 10, and then from levels 10 to 50 there's going to be a level squish from 120 to level 60 in Shadowlands, so the current max level is going to be changing to 50. That level 10 to 50 leveling experience is going to be done in either the original game or one of the expansions. Basically they're revamping how leveling will work, and it sounds like it will be much more new player friendly. So if you're a new player getting into the game, I would potentially say just wait until the Shadowlands pre-patch. Now, caveat to this, if there's any game here where you're like, oh, I really want to jump in right now and I really want to play it and experience it right now, please do. I just personally don't see the point in even trying to get to the end game in Battle for Azeroth, because it's going to be very quickly changing into the Shadowlands, and I'd rather spend my time there. And that's really the case, I think, for both hardcore and casual players. If you're a hardcore player, you could jump in and maybe try and experience some of the end game of Battle for Azeroth, but I really don't think at this point it would be worth it. And you could just level using the current leveling system, but you might as well just wait for the pre-patch. I do believe that even for casuals and hardcore players, there'll be time from when the pre-patch goes live in retail to when the actual Shadowlands expansion comes out. There'll be time to get to level 50 at that point for both casuals and hardcore players, because the leveling experience is going to be much quicker. Personally, I can't see why you would put effort into a game knowing that literally in a couple of months that progress is sort of going to be squished. However, WoW Retail I think is actually a good game for casuals and hardcore players, because there's mythic raiding, which like only 1% of players do, and for casuals you've got essentially many different kinds of games you can play, and you could start that now. If you're a casual and you maybe want to collect mounts, then maybe now is the time to jump in. Now Classic WoW is actually in a really interesting state right now. We are up to phase 5 and there's going to be 6 phases. The current one is AQ40. You don't really need to know what AQ is or anything like that, but basically the one thing I want to talk about when it comes to Classic, and if you should play, you should be aware that there is quite a time investment required to get from 1 to 60. Now I realise that the levels sound similar to what current WoW is going to be going to, the retail WoW, and I think that's probably slightly intentional from Blizzard. But the one thing I want to say is that generally in Classic WoW, leveling from 1 to 60 for like a new player, you're looking at maybe at least probably 7 days, and an average probably around 10 days. And then that's 10 days played time, so you're looking at 240 hours. Now if you average that out playing 2 hours a night, it would take you 120 days to actually get from 0 to 60. So if you're a casual playing 2 hours a night, which I still think is quite actually a lot, then you know you're in for some trouble. However, that's if your goal is to get to max level. WoW Classic probably has a more rewarding leveling experience, and a lot of people really enjoy that process. Now, I myself have re-rolled Horde, so I'm actually going through that myself, but it's actually reasonably enjoyable. It's just I can understand, you know, you will now see people going through the phasing of raiding at the end game, and of course you'll be missing out on that because you need to level. So as a casual player, you'll see people doing the raiding experience, and you will probably still be leveling up. Now, once we get to the phase 6, which is Nax in this case, what will generally happen probably 3 to 6 months later, we'll get the expansion for Classic called the Burning Crusade. And that would be something you could aim at even for casual. If you started now, we expect the Burning Crusade to possibly come out either early summer or say something like spring, so maybe like March or April in 2021. So if you really wanted to experience the leveling in World of Warcraft Classic, now would be a time. Whether or not you get to experience the raiding, I'm not 100% sure. There are actually like catch-up raids, so there's, you know, 15-man raids, 20-man raids, and the gear sort of evolves so that it's easier for newer players to get into the higher tier raids. But as a casual player looking at the fact, you know, it would be 2 hours over 120 days, you would be really struggling, I think, to really catch up as a casual. I think for a more hardcore player, that option is still on the table. You could catch up now, you could level quickly, you could start the raiding. But as I said, a lot of people enjoy the actual leveling experience in Classic, but keep in mind that essentially it's not too late to start, but I would possibly maybe shift focus and go for the Burning Crusade expansion. A lot of people prefer that in many ways, and I won't go into the details here, but there's no world boss, and there's arenas, which is actually a more competitive sort of PvP than say the current Classic WoW grind, which is basically to get to rank 14 you just need to, well, have no life and PvP a lot. So I do think that Classic right now is in a bit of a tricky place, even for that hardcore player. If you wanted to get into the raiding scene, you would have to like put the foot on the gas, catch up, know that you're behind, and maybe like work your way through the raids getting all the gear. The one good thing would be that people already have the gear and you might actually get some stuff quite quickly. I think in one way right now you could look at retail WoW and Classic WoW and say, oh, actually now's not necessarily the time to play. But with the pre-patch on the horizon for retail WoW, I definitely think if you're interested in jumping into that, which let's admit is possibly a more casual experience because the game has many different entries and sort of like things for casual, pet battles, mounts, transmog, all that kind of stuff. I'm not saying it's easier because mythic raiding in WoW retail is probably much harder than all other raiding that we've seen before, especially in Classic and TBC and that kind of stuff. So the difficulty is there if that's something you want, but there's also more options for a casual player and it doesn't take you as long to level, etc. That pre-patch for Shadowlands coming to retail is a really good time for anybody to jump into it, I would imagine so. And for Classic, do you want to experience the leveling? If so, you could start that now and not worry about it. I would maybe shift your focus to just leveling in time for the Burning Crusade when that comes out next year. And if you're a hardcore player, then Classic is just know it's going to be a long time to level, and then you're going to have to go through the raiding progression to actually catch up to people. But there are sort of catch up mechanics. So in one sense, now's not a great time to play either. On the other, there's no time like the present, and if you want to play any of them, now you can, obviously. Shadowlands on the horizon though, I still think that pre-patch is fantastic. And for WoW Classic, I think, well, it takes so long that you might as well start now. That's it. I'm just trying to vaguely answer the question of should you play World of Warcraft right now, what version you should play. Knowing that that pre-patch is on the horizon, knowing that the Burning Crusade is on the horizon, you might think, oh, I'll just wait for them. But there is no time like now. Crack on, enjoy your time, enjoy your experiences. Have a beautiful day. Like and subscribe. Goodbye.